Hear me, make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and of a rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient unto me.
Today, continuing with the Satan and Satanism series, I'd like to explain our comments on the grimoire that some of you may have heard of. I initially did this on the 29th of the 28th of the 10th month of 1436. The Jest of Kingdoms of Flame, a Grimoire of Evocation and Sorcery by E.A. Koetting. It makes sense for the fifth book I read this month to be one that included an adverse pentagram. Kingdoms of Flame, a Grimoire of Evocation and Sorcery by E.A. Koetting. This is supposed to be a result of a project commissioned by three strange beings from Ordo Ascensum Aetyrnalis in November of 2000, or Vulgaris. The results of Matthew Lawrence's working through the practices of a grimoire that was supposed to be a secret, like many grimoires. There was supposed to be a number of opinions on who wrote the one this is based on. Some are supposed to believe in spirits like Martal, Satagral, and Enkidorat wrote it. So many people who reject angelic revelations of mainstream religions accept the messages of the fire beings. Could it be the invention of an emissary of the 18 flames? This is what E.A. Koetting considers himself. Whether new or old, spiritual systems can be effective. Matthew Lawrence tells how he was taken care of while young by people in the Ordo Ascensum Aetyrnalis after his parents were not part of the picture. He was dropped off at a house that would become his occult training grounds on his 12th birthday. Didn't he say he was Latter-day Saint as a teen in one of his E.A. Koetting videos? The person playing the role of E.A. Koetting's father put in a good word for him with the leader there. He was to start with someone of the 10th flame and continue with a number of other members till he was considered an emissary of the 18 flames. Evocation and projection were Matthew Lawrence's specialties. He studied as many of the grimoires in the library of the whole text of something in a skeleton cipher, what some others were only to have a few pages a piece from. It was the job of Matthew Lawrence to compile it. Matthew Lawrence considers himself to be like a John Dee or Aleister Crowley trying to figure out how a system works. On page 13, Matthew Lawrence makes clear that part of his story is fiction and claims the reality would be less believable. Did he make up the Necronomicon-like grimoire and his claims of experience with it? This grimoire might not have a profound of number and letter patterns as some may have seen in magical squares. But one is asked to just believe in its spiritual balance and power. Sigilla are formed in standard ways and might be found on the squares that follow. I will at-bash cipher them in a way where you can tell what they are if you think to reverse the alphabet. E.A. Koetting admits that he had to leave the traditional occult interpretations behind in working them. He thought to himself that the squares must be like the Enochian squares in representing elemental matters, specific things, and a combination of forces of names or of entities. Or combination forces or names of entities. Some of his books give a weird usage of the Enochian tablets as talismans that I didn't remember seeing before, leaving some of the squares blank. After his first ritual use of the first square of the secret grimoire, he decided to treat them like gateways of specific places in the astral realm, the place of fallen angels in some mythologies. Like a lot of the New Age ones say that there's an astral realm and that's where the fire beings and hell and the language of the incantations could be completely barbarous, or the meaning could have been lost or forgotten. He would follow the messages he would seem to get by patterns in which the squares reappeared in other operations. Matthew Lawrence came to the conclusion that the squares opened a gateway over him and the targeted location. Each entity had a sigillum, and every kingdom under a square seemed to have a grand demon over them all. Do demons enslave angels instead of the other way around? Or are the angels they mean really fellow jinn? The astral realm is supposed to be outside the realm of physical experience. If this spiritual rather than psychic, is this spiritual rather than psychic? The idea of fallen and unfallen angels having their own realm of a sort that is somewhat linked to this physical plane. The concept of squares is that they are supposed to be gateways in between the physical and the astral plane. The physical, of course, would be the scientifically provable realm. The perception of the regnum spiritus seems to be like the material realm, but only like it. Some of this again gets us to those fallen angels or fire beings. Humans and jinn have choices. Does E.A. Koetting go too far in making it seem like all the fallen angels are demons? Why can't humans have established just as evil of a drive within themselves? If the entities grant what they are said to and can be trusted, why don't people who practice this have more political power, health, and wealth? Is ascent really the most terrifying and unpleasant thing to achieve? Angels of this grimoire are not to be treated as the opposites of these demons who are supposed to give you terror and discomfort to exalt you. Most people in this culture use angel to describe something other than light beings or unfallen angels. Are E.A. Koetting's demons, angels, and spirits and the dead really the same class of entities? Or should we throw in the projections too? Just like the Necronomicon, some of the entities mentioned are said to be older than this earth. The jinn and the malaika are both said to have been around before humans, and even the material creation. Those mentioned in this grimoire are similar to the planetary intelligences mentioned in other grimoires. Matthew Lawrence seems to downplay the hierarchical portrayal of these worlds, because that might indicate to some that would interfere with their coexistence. As with primate hierarchies, that does not have to be the case. The incantations and tools for these operations were few in general. There was only the formula for the opening of the gate and the one for exorcism. There wasn't the mention of hierarchies in summoning the entities or claiming the authority of something considered to be a god or goddess. Why invoke or evoke holy entities that have no power without allowing them to have it? Is the temple of causality on the astral plane just wishful thinking that you can refine your will to get whatever you wish in this life? A gateway from this book is drawn upon the ground that is used much like a magical circle that you look up from. The 8-line and 32-word incantation of the gate and its 12-line translation is omitted here, from my work. The gate itself has a writing atop that reminds of ancient Aramaic for al-na, or atzkep, with an upside-down tau cross on the bottom of each side, an Athila rune in the middle of each side, and a backslash forward slash on each side below the top bar. The conjuring of the spirits is supposedly done by calling on them. Ever wonder why this sort of spiritual practice is called playing with fire, or sihr? The triangle of the sorcerer is difficult to describe. There are 4 words in an unknown script written outside a triangle, an adverse pentagram within a pentagram in the middle, and a symbol in each corner of the triangle. The concept is to wear or present it somehow during the ritual. These are not the same thing. If you know palm's tree, there's a symbolic meaning to the placement there, but this is the sigil to affirm and renounce in terms of the quadrant of air and the first of the warming quarter managed there. I personally would not recommend offerings to the spirits or dedicating anything in the name of a creation. Why are there constraints to use only tin or silver if in metal? Why are there restrictions about using black ink or your own blood to write it on paper or parchment? The meanings are left out, and Fastos, Meton, and Astron are supposed to give different answers when evoked separately as to what the meanings are. The entities are said to be called from the east, with the triangle in the south, but these are both directions and attributed to alchemical fire and air. A simple circle with 4 different symbols evenly spread out along the edges is another thing acts to be done in the ritual space. The tool and such are supposed to be appropriate to the magician and the age he lives in. How are we to know what is fitting if the meanings are so vague and the entities seem untrustworthy? The circle here is given as north or water at the top, south and fire at the bottom, east and air at the right hand, and west and earth at the left hand. The claim is that the grimoire refers mainly to demons, and they tend to be more base than those mention other entities. This makes sense in the face of the fact that the EA Koetting YouTube channel often uses phrases like "Nost either." The ritual tools in space keep you physically contained and body in action. Why would an entity not limited by matter be so constrained? Well, it's obviously your psyche that you're constraining by drawing the symbols and whatnot. I will omit the 6-line and 25-word purification and banishing that has no meaning listed. Could this language all be glossolalia, or speech that comes from around the brainstem when the frontal cortex almost shuts down and is given meaning under the guise of speaking in tongues? Psalm 122 in Aramaic, Biblical Hebrew, whatever you call it, might better serve as an exorcism because it asks for refuge from beings with a quality like humans but like unto fire. Al-Quran 2:97 through 102, 23, 93 to 98, 37, 1 to 3, and the entirety of Surah 72. Specifically relevant passages, and the combination of the last 3 surah might serve you even better. Now, I guess I can show you this very briefly, and the other page has the rest of the symbols of the grimoire. The first kingdom of flames. Now, in the grimoire, you think if he knows this script that we would at least get a version of the squares that goes with it, and you know how to read the squares, like many other things, like in Enochian, just English lettering. It shouldn't just be English lettering. It should be like my tablet there. Okay, most people put one version or two variations possible per square. Some only have one in all. But using the Enochian script is important. I would think that the script in this would be likewise so important, but the first Kingdom of Flames square is 5 by 5. NHIGZVSNZPFZVYO HZZPHHGVNO. A square like unto that above is said to have resulted in male voices in the sight of something like Mercury. A burning possession seemed to fill him among the sinister-seeming visuals. Martal is said to be the first kingdom's grand demon and is said to be over initiation. Eshmak, our demon of assertion of will. Tuel, our demon of races and civilization. And Semasek, our angel of protection and defense, are said to be there also. Now, with these, I give the correct name, but A equals Z, B equals Y, and so on. And the Kingdom of Night is a 7x7. P, Z, G, L, P, Z, I, Z, O, O, X, I, Z, Z, G, H, K, H, U, S, F, O, L, O, G, H, Z, V, Z, O, O, G, Z, Z, V, V, Z, M, N, I, T, L, Z, M, G, N, O, G, Y. And if someone buys that painting, I'll do something like that with the painting, saying the right letter. A square opposite to the one above is said to have resulted in a cubical room like something from Egypt or Babylon, but with a script like that of the grimoire being worked with. Althalan and his two attendants joined him from the seventh room and onwards through many others. Kaltemthal is said to be this kingdom's grand demon and is said to be over darkness and things and shadows. Raskutor are the prince demon of humanity's existence. Oakfall are the angel of deliverance. Althalan are the demon guide through the darkness. Sentamot are demon of despair. Zraabel are demon of hallucination, are also said to be in the kingdom of the night. The three wise men is a 4x4 square. U, N, G, V, G, Z, L, H, L, G, M, Z, I, H, L, M. Opposite to this square was said to bring forth a vision of a circular entrance hall of a temple, with 3 doors evenly spaced around the room. A red door led to Fastos' library. The other 2 rooms were also full of large books written in the script that E.A. Koetting could now understand. If somebody knows where to see the alphabet, his demonic alphabet, give me a link. Let me know. I've seen other magical scripts, and I'm curious how to read this one. The Nabatean thing. Well, his examples look like possibly a series of languages, so I don't know which one's which and how to pronounce things. Fastos is the demon of demoniac communication. Meton is the angel of angelic communication. Aptron is the spirit knowing the ways of the dead. Does each group really have a language that all understand? Second Kingdom of Flames. Ooh, 9x9 square. K, N, Z, S, R, S, X, G, S, G, Z. Okay, I'll start that over. K, M, Z, K, N, Z, S, R, X, X, G, Z, O, L, O, S, P, N, Z, K, W, Z, I, IDRLVVLLO HVZWNOZVY ZLNVPZIZL WEHPORGR OWITVTIOG MILRMLZWO. Something like this square gave way to the scene of vast grassy fields around a village that was around a fortress. In the castle were dozens of very well-dressed nobles, leading the way to a metal door, which had the monstrous throne of Pendralion behind it. Pendralion is said to be the grand spirit over material powers. Iadon, our demon of wealth and abundance. Ladalok, our enslaving demoness. Acarion, or Acheron, our winged angel of influence. Lucorst, our beneficial angel. Parion, our demon of recognition. Dagal, our glorious angel of light. Abartala, our guiding spirit. Hekaltor, our mischievous demon of chaos. This odd Eoria, our mad demoness. And Malta, our grand spirit of the secrets to political power, are also said to be there. And a 6x6 square is the kingdom of the blue flame. HLTKZG HIZZUL LOZZRO OGIGSI HZGGMZ HGIZZZ. The inverse of the aforementioned square was a means to have a vision of a dark region without stars, but an indigo nebula. Matthew Lawrence, or Eric Arcalas Koetting, found himself in an undertow that pulled him into this mass, where faces attacked him and disappeared. Then were the cobweb-like landscapes that would dissolve away. I am reminded of the cobwebs on tarot cards like Death and sometimes Moon. Satagral is the grand demon of mystical perception here. Paltator are the angel of visions. Saston are the spirit of higher faculties and shape-shifting. Fortiar, our binding demon, who destroys talent. And Thalos, or a spirit of astral projection are said to be there as well. And on a 7x7 tablet, Kingdom of Shadows, G Z Z T G Z Z H Z K G O Y Z M I Z L M L Z Z Z Z G M O N I O S G F V G I G S V G H L V G L I G K. An inverted form of the square I just shared was said to have been the means by which Matthew Lawrence experienced himself in a disgusting swamp, where he got pulled underground. In this dark and dirty tube, he saw the square of the Kingdom of Shadows and 6 sigilia of entities on the cracked ground at the end of a lit tunnel there. Taratur. It's the Grand Demon of the Shadows of the Dead. Targal, or the Demon Prince of the Dead Wicked Souls. Sultanat, or Angel of the Righteous Dead. Faltam, or Spirit of the Secrets of the Dead. Heptomaltor, or Demon of Torture. Mestorat, or Protecting Angel, are said to be in the Kingdom of Shadows too. Kingdom of the Red Flame is another 4x4 square. Z H F L P O Y R B H G K G F O Y. An opposite of that square was a means by which Matthew Lawrence, or Eric Arpalas Koetting, was taken to a place upon white clouds. There was a congregation of bright, graceful, and youthful angels giving attention to a female on a pearl throne. Venus, Venus de Milo, or Lucifer as another name for Venus. Not demon, but anyway. EAK was afraid of its beauty and retreated from the altered state in fear. Latir is the grand demon of matters of the heart. Saspu, or angel of love and friendship. Kret, or beguiling demon. Tool, or spirit of secrets and knowledge of love and soulmates, are also listed there. So, it's comfortable with filth, torture, but beauty. Oh no, no, beautiful woman, get that away from me. Let me play in the filthy swamp with the creatures that eat the trash. The third Kingdom of Night, 5x5 square. Z Z N G N P S L G I N V T L I W P Z H V M O Z P Z. An inversion of the square I just mentioned was the means by which a vision of a woman being tortured and children being killed was had. Among this was a black heart fire and a crowded and congested place. The area by the open square seemed to be where these distinct voices were coming from. A different, sinister figure stood atop each of 9 towering torches. They were called the Towers of Night and Flame. Adaptamon is the grand demon of violence and misery. Keltar are the demon of slaughter. Methsan, our demon of poison, and Gorka, are the demon of despair and betrayal, are also said to be there. Now, as you know, E.A. Koetting in the past, well, one would hope it's in his past for his sake, has had a problem with meth, so it makes sense that there's a demon with meth in its name. Ninth Kingdom of the Flames. Ooh, this is a big one. How many? Oh, 8 by 8. IZZUNHZRLZNBMGZH space NZZXHHMZGON ZUGLPLIGLZPHLON AZZRVPZK ROPZSGZ. An opposite of the square above was a means by which a cobblestone path over grassy knolls was seen by E.A. Koetting. Plants with intensely sweet-smelling fruit were along the way to a white castle with 3-story-high walls. A man appeared upon the granite floor there. As you may know, granite is one of the primary minerals of this planet. This was Angel Haasuk in the first temple of Varai. It told him to return later through the square after evoking the entities mentioned with it. Enki Dorak is the grand angel of ascent, karma, and instruction for those considered to be gods and goddesses. Pontimas are the spirit of absolution. Sakatos, or cleansing angel. Ismalta, our demon guardian. Alkalon, our spirit of alchemy. Tenazal, our demon of illusion. Latana, our encouraging angel. Frotash, our spirit guide. Haas, our angel of armory, are those listed therein. And another 5 by 5 square. Z for Fourth Kingdom of Flames. Z's. ZCPWZ MBSGI OOZZG KG space LP OYZFZ whether I'm exactly doing a square or whether I'm move my hand different space for at least each square of the row, that feels so much better. I mean, if one sets forth one's magical squares when one does whatever, you're going to evoke more out of yourself. The good and bad that is attracted by whether you're worshiping only God, and the good that's attracted with that, that's going to happen regardless of what you experience. Being skilled at evocation has really nothing to do with anything other than doing it correctly, both in terms of the unseen that you may never notice a difference with in your own experience of it. An inversion of the square just mentioned was the means for a vision of a small kingdom with a large metal polyhedron room. It might have had 12 sides. Everything was mathematically precise. Zadkal is the grand spirit of science and art there. Lutal, or spirit of the stars. Xeroth, Xeropa, our spirit of stones, and Rantka, our healing angel, are also listed there. And in my concluding notes, a lot more has been said in Kingdom of Flames about the experiences, techniques, and alleged nature of these spirits that can at times prove unreliable and disappointing. As Matthew Lawrence, or Eric, or Pallas, Koetting, really worked through all the traditional grimoires and brought you an understanding that represents them all from a position of knowledge of them, should you really want to attract things into your life by these methods and keep them there to work unrestrained? Do you really feel comfortable offering water and blood to creations and ritual? The grimoire ends with an 8-line and 27-line grand conjuration and retention of the spirits in a language thought to be demonic. I'm sure I mean 27 words. Maybe. Oh, maybe 2 different ones, yeah. Are you the type to abandon mainstream religion with texts that can be linguistically understood and trust a series of unclear and forbidden books? Certainly, that seems to be what people do. And to show you a clearer when I read this.